Hello, today I want to explore managing coronavirus anxiety using mindfulness. I guess the first port of call is, what do we mean by anxiety? And what is anxiety? We've all felt it. Other words like worry and concern sound similar and are similar to anxiety, but not quite the same thing. Anxiety has a kind of strength to it in our mind, a feeling of almost panic, moving towards panic. Whereas you can worry about something mildly. You don't get mildly anxious, I don't think. I think anxiety itself is strong. Then we take a step back using mindfulness, which is the ability to notice what's going on and to use that ability to then manage our emotions. And when we take a step back and we look at what do we mean by anxiety, what is anxiety, then we start to see that it's just one of dozens, if not hundreds, of responses that the human mind produces, often in response to a particular thing. Like in this case, the topic just now is the COVID-19 coronavirus. And it's a dangerous thing. So too is a bus. So too is a pavement. You can trip on a pavement, fall, crack your skull. You can be run over by the bus. So is your heart. Your heart might feel fine just now, but your heart might not be well tomorrow. Stairs is the most common cause of injury and death in older people, falling down the stairs. So there's a million things we can be anxious about. There's a million things that are potentially dangerous. Now, none of them are, of course, as dangerous in terms of being infected as coronavirus. It's highly contagious. But the percentage of people who become seriously unwell with it is small. And the percentage of people who become seriously unwell and die is still small. So in terms of chances, it's very low. But the consequences can be huge and real. And that's what the anxiety plays on. But anxiety is just another emotion, another feeling, another response. Just like laughing at a funny joke. It's no different, except for one is pleasant, the other's unpleasant. And this is what we try to learn in mindfulness, not with a kind of Spock-like in Star Trek, I am logical, lack of emotion, but actually with a curiosity and a love of life that says, well, let's look at things for what they actually are and then see how we can deal with them. So if anxiety is just something the mind produces, then maybe the skill that we need to learn is to not get caught up in what the mind produces, unless we actively want to. And that takes practice. It takes practice because the mind automatically produces these responses, these emotions like anger, frustration, depression, sadness, anxiety, grief. There's a whole range of them. The good ones as well: love, kindness, humour, forgiveness, compassion, empathy, sympathy. So we've got this whole range of stuff. And mindfulness, at the first stage, is building the skill of noticing this stuff. Not in retrospect, that's easy and it's usually too late if it's a negative, but actually as it's happening. So we tried to build the skill of noticing what's going on as it happens. So I pick up my glass of water, which I always have handy, and I try to notice what's going on. And what's going on as I change hands is I feel two things on my fingertips. the smoothness of the glass, which is very pleasant to my mind, and the coolness of the water through the glass on my fingertips. If I change hands again, I feel it again. Most of the time we don't notice this because it's everyday stuff. What is anxiety? It's everyday stuff. So we don't notice that it's arising and taking over us, it just does it. So we are enslaved to a feeling and we're only half aware that that's what's happened. And most of us live most of our lives like that. It's almost, I used to call it a semi-zombie life. Because you're alive, but you're not quite alive. You're dead because something else is controlling how you live. And that's your own mind. And as I've spoken on previous occasions about this, we've evolved to have these automatic responses. Because presumably in ancient times, when they first formed, they helped us survive, but now they're just hanging around, causing us all sorts of untold minor and major miseries like anxiety, and serving us no real purpose. What would really be useful is if our mind automatically produced an awareness that we are worried and just smile at it and let it go. Because as I'm speaking just now, I live in Hamilton and we have had uncharacteristically beautiful weather for days on end. And I'm speaking in sort of mid to late April. And it's gorgeous. I was out for an early morning walk and noticed the flowers blooming. The sun was just risen about 50, so I was out at 6:15. The sun had risen about 15 minutes earlier and it was a blaze of colour. It was about 3 degrees and so cold, but not horribly cold. And I just absorbed it all. Just enjoyed the moment. And that's despite the fact that this is in the middle of the world's worst pandemic since 1919's Spanish flu. And probably the worst thing that most of us living, wherever we're living, have experienced since the Second World War, unless you happen to be living in an area which has had terrible tragedy and war like Syria, Somalia, and Libya, places like that. But those of us in the comfortable West haven't really experienced something like this, so the anxiety is natural. And mindfulness says, learn to notice and deal with it. And by deal with it, we don't mean suppressing the emotions. We mean noticing it and just letting them go. And you're probably thinking, well, that's easier said than done. And you're right, it is easier said than done. But it is doable. You can let go of grief. You can let go of hatred. You can let go of bigotry. Why? By noticing it, recognising it's unhealthy and unhelpful, and taking your attention somewhere else. That's not the same as suppressing an emotion or a feeling. Suppression is kind of forcing it down. And what you're really doing is just putting it back into the fire of its source so it comes up even stronger, hotter, more powerful. So let me imagine that I'm thinking ahead with coronavirus and my work is pretty much dried up and I'm concerned about eventually running out of money. I'm concerned that I've got an elderly aunt in Glasgow, she's 101 years old. What if she gets it? I have another aunt down in England, what if she gets it? And then I think, what if I go out shopping? I have to go shopping sometimes. If I come home, might I bring it home to my wife? And so on and so on and so on. So there's a million things you can be anxious about. So imagine one of those starts in my mind and I'm mindful, I notice it. Rather than getting drawn into worry about that anxiety, I can just take my attention to the glass and notice the coolness of the glass, the smoothness of the glass, even the way the light from my left is reflecting on the glass and making those lovely white images, and you can see also my t-shirt just reflecting on it now. All of a sudden, I mean, it's not brilliant, it's not great, but it's pleasant. And my mind is no longer anxious. Why is it no longer anxious? Because I've taken my attention somewhere else. And noticing the water go down your throat is beautiful. Lubricates it, cools it down. Now the anxiety might come back. So what do you do then? You do the same thing, or a variation of it. You might think, you never get annoyed at yourself for being anxious again, because that's just an extra negative you've just added to your mind. And you never get annoyed at the anxiety, because that's just another extra, and it serves no purpose. So we try to stay calm and collected. So the anxiety comes back up, and this time decide, I'll notice my feet on the floor. This might sound ridiculous, but these are really effective. This is what Harvard University, Oxford, Cambridge, UCLA, Stanford, Princeton, Yale have all done studies on this. Neuroscientists, doctors, psychologists. It's just allocation of attention. Where do you place your mind? If your mind pops up with something destructive like anxiety, notice it and take your mind somewhere else. If it returns because it's being ignored, you do the same again. And you try never to get irritated at it, because irritation is just another one like anxiety. You just let them all go. They appear, rubbish, drop it. Appear, rubbish, drop it. Where do you put your mind? Put my mind to the feet on the ground. What's the feet on the ground like? Well, it's actually strange. We never really think about this. What do we mean by touch? We know what we physically mean. Something physical, the hand, touches something else physical, this laptop, or this table, or this leg. But actually, what's the touch bit? What is it? It's like wee electrical tingles. That's what it feels like. If you just do that, if you gently rub your finger on your legs or on your hand right now, really, really lightly, you can almost feel like little electric shock tingles. And it's the same with your feet on the ground. Maybe a bit more subdued because, in my case, I've got shoes and socks on as well as my feet. But I can still feel the tingle and the solidity of the floor. Now, me even just noticing that and explaining it to you has taken me well away from potential anxiety. And that's pleasant. It's nice to have your feet on the ground. And you can think of phrases that can help as well. Like I feel grounded. Feeling grounded means you feel stable. Feeling stable is a pleasant thing, a positive thing. It's the opposite of anxiety. You've just taken your mind from something negative now to something solid. Or you can use your breath. Classic tool of mindfulness. And one of the beauties of the breath is it's always there. You don't have to remember to take it with you like a yoga mat or like a basketball ball, or a football if you want to play football. Your breath's always there for you to be mindful of. And breathing, unless you've got a cold, breathing in is always pleasant. It's fresh and it's clear. That's one of the great beauties of it. We go outside to get a breath of fresh air. But inside, although it's not quite as good, it's still pleasant. And breathing out is pleasant, but breathing out is pleasant in a different way. So you've now got two experiences. Breathing in is fresh and it's clear, and we use that word clear deliberately later on. Breathing out is quiet and it's peaceful, and we use that word peaceful because they're emotive words, they are influential words. Think of the word clear. Clear means empty, vast, fresh, nothing there. How good it is to have a clear mind if you're feeling anxious. Well, that's a really good alternative. That's a much better option. So if you feel anxiety, instead of getting caught up in it, but you have to learn to notice it at the time, which is a skill we'll come to in a minute, mindfulness. You breathe in. It's Clear and fresh, and you just think the word clear. And you can even think the words, this is clearing away my anxiety. My mind is clear and it's all blown away my worries. What's left? Clear mind. What's a clear mind like? Yeah, it's great. A clear mind is great. Breathing back out, which is the beauty, is because you have to do that, otherwise you die if you just breathe in. Well, you can't just breathe in, it'll come out anyway. But you breathe back out, and what's that like? It's peaceful. Now you've got two great complementary aspects of mind. So again, back, anxiety pops up, you're thinking, oh my God, all these are terrible things going to happen to me or to others I love. You notice it, take your attention to the breath, clear, peaceful. Clear and peaceful. My mind is clear now. My mind is peaceful now. A mind can be clear and peaceful. A clear mind is peaceful, and a peaceful mind is clear. Where's the anxiety? Well, it's just disappeared. Pops back up. Clear. Peaceful. Anxiety's gone. Pops back up. Keep doing it. What's the alternative? To get annoyed that you're clear and peaceful hasn't stopped it coming back up. Then you're annoyed. And you're annoyed and you're anxious now, which has made it worse. So you just keep moving and do that practice. It really is as simple as that. That might sound unrealistic, but this works. As it happens, later today I'm on a meeting, a virtual meeting with the Lanarkshire Suicide Prevention Board, of which I've been a member, so the steering group, of which I've been a member for probably about a decade now. And we know from the scientific evidence that learning this stops people killing themselves. It's a ridiculous notion. The idea of noticing a feeling or a thought in the head that says life isn't worth living, seeing that and just breathing in, nice and clear, breathing back out, nice and peaceful, keep doing it, don't feel suicidal anymore, pops back up, a couple of days later, do the same. Difference between life and death. I have an email from a person, literally with a noose around their neck, saying they noticed what they were doing in the present moment, which is the definition of mindfulness. And they saw it clearly and peacefully, and they took it off, and they lived. That would probably be about 7 or 8 years ago. And that person's still alive and well and happy and has a family. This is not some airy-fairy, wishy-washy, doesn't work stuff. This is life-saving. This is life-changing. Can you imagine never getting full-blown anxiety again? Can you imagine never worrying at any length about anything, ever? Including your own death, including the death of the people you love. And in their place, you put love. In their place, you put gratitude for knowing people. In the place, you put gratitude for just being alive. In its place, you put noticing the clouds in the sky. In its place, you notice the fact that you've got water clean from a tap. And almost nobody in history ever had that. Life-saving stuff, water. Probably about a third of the world don't have it yet. You've got it. Mindfulness says you can learn to notice what's actually going on in the present moment. And you can build mental qualities like gratitude, appreciation, love, tolerance, forgiveness, happiness, humour, cheerfulness, contentment, acceptance, peace. Most of all, peace. Your mind can be at peace, despite difficulties happening in life. I know this from my own life. I've had 5 of the people I love most die on me in the last 7.5 years. My parents, 7.5 years ago, 3 weeks apart. Then a lull, thankfully, and then my brother, followed 6 months later by my sister, followed 11 months later by my beautiful aunt. And that's just been in the last 1.5 years. Such is life. Death comes with life, life comes with death. Doesn't mean you have to be unhappy. As I once half-jokingly cracked at another talk, I come from a big family, so I'm one of 10 children. So I've lost 3 people I love. Well, I've got about another 30 people I love. I'm grateful to have known my parents and all the things they've given me. And yes, I miss them, but I love them. And I'm grateful and cherish the memories of time with them. And that's the same with my sister and my brother and my aunt. It is a choice, but you only know you have a choice if you know you can do this kind of thing, this mindfulness stuff. And it's not about taking something human away from you, these negative emotions. They are all natural. This is about replacing them with other human emotions and feelings. Ones that nurture you. Ones that make you happier and healthier mentally and physically healthier. Because negative emotions wear out the body. They physically destroy the body and you die earlier. So there's all sorts of reasons, but the most important reason for doing this and dealing with things like anxiety and anything else that crops up negative in your mind about the whole coronavirus is that actually being alive should be good. Being alive should feel enjoyable. And despite difficulties, it should feel light. It should feel beautiful. Life is very beautiful if you choose to think that way. And it's up to you to choose to think that way. Now, you might think, well, is that not a wee bit idealistic then, or very unrealistic? Well, nothing is real in terms of views and opinions and feelings. It's all just in the head. 2 people can see the same incident and one love it and the other one hate it. Somebody can get really panicky about something, another says, look, it's water off a duck's back. Who's right? Nobody's right. The fact of coronavirus and the spread of it is real. How we respond to it and how we feel about it is a choice. And what I'm saying is, you can be totally realistic about things, but still be happy. It's up to you. Or rather, it's up to your mind. Which part of your mind is going to dominate? The automatic mind, which is ancient. It's producing stuff that would have helped us 30 million years ago. It's not really that useful anymore. Anxiety, worry, concern, hatred, bitterness, anger, narrow-minded tribalism, all that stuff. What serves us now is to be clear, to think clearly, to be kind, to help others, to be kind to ourselves, to make sure we keep well ourselves. But to do that well, we need to learn to practice it. So, do a practice just now. If you can sit, if you suffer from any pain or aches, or if you suffer from any disabilities, please adjust how I'm asking you to sit to suit yourselves. Otherwise, the best place to sit is just an ordinary kitchen or dining room chair, preferably with a wee sort of bit of cushioning so that it feels comfortable. You don't want this to be some kind of self-harming process of sitting in a hard chair for a wee while. But otherwise, it's just a question of sitting upright on the chair. So feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Small at the back against the back of the chair. Back nice and upright, so you're feeling alert. One hand on top of the other, thumbs gently touching, placed on your lap. Head dipped down a little and eyes gently closed. To start with, let's play a wee trick on our mind. The mind is very susceptible to things. So we can influence how our mind feels and what tone it's like just by doing a couple of little things. So imagine just now that your attention is at your eye level, eyes closed. And it's in the form of a long, thin, cigar-shaped cloud that goes across the eyes and protrudes maybe an inch either side of your temples. And it's clear, and it feels nice and light. Now imagine that it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. And as a result, it very slowly starts to rise above the eyes, through the eyebrows, going up through the forehead, to your hairline, then up through your hair, and then it's free from your head. And it slowly rises above your head till it's about 6 or 9 inches above your head. And there it comes to a slow, gentle stop. So now we're imagining that our attention is above our head, so it's got a better overview, and therefore it's clearer. It's got a clearer picture of what's going on. And because it's floated up there, it's now as light as a feather. So there's no effort required for you to sustain your attention. So it's clearer and lighter. Just feel your attention clear and light up there. Be able to notice anything at all that's going on. Now gently take that attention back down into your head and start to look around in slow motion, gently and lightly. What's your mind like just now? And if we say what's your mind like just now, what we really mean is, how do you feel right now? Or even, what version of you are you right now? Take your time and imagine that your attention is like a kind of gel-like substance that can float around and squeeze into wee corners of the mind to see if there's anything maybe less obvious going on, as well as the obvious stuff. And as you do your own exploration, I'll describe the 3 main categories of things as I collate them that I've noticed can happen when you look at your mind. The first is that the mind is switched off. It's empty. You look, and there's nothing there. It's like going to see a new house, and there's no furniture. It's just a bare room, maybe a carpet there, nothing else. Your mind can be like that. What that means is sometimes our automatic mind, the part of the mind that produces this stuff, just sometimes doesn't. Sometimes it's just switched off. And that's okay. Don't get worried about the fact that your mind isn't doing anything. Just notice, and that's a category. An empty mind, that's one of the things we notice. The second category is the most common thing that we find when we do this practice. And that's states of mind. A state of mind is a feeling, and a feeling that is stable and that lingers. So it doesn't fluctuate up and down, and it lasts. It's not gone within 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And the most common that we notice when we look and in our own mind like this is that we feel tired or sleepy. So if you're noticing and you're feeling, oh, I'm a wee bit tired, or oh, I'm really tired, just look around it. Notice what the tiredness feels like. Where, if anywhere, it's located. And don't worry about it. Almost everyone's tired nowadays. It's a problem, it's a societal problem. And we can get better by sleeping better and by doing things during the day better. But we'll come to that another time perhaps. In the meantime, you're noticing that you're tired, and tiredness is a state of mind. The second most common is like the flip side of tiredness. It's feeling rested. So sometimes when we close our eyes, it's because we're tired. And what do we want? When we're tired, we want to rest. So sometimes when we do this practice, you notice the tiredness, but sometimes you notice the restfulness. So one's just like your bad luck, and one's your good luck. So if you're feeling restful, again, notice it. Notice what it actually feels like and the pleasant nature of it, and just enjoy it. So those are the two most common states of mind that we notice when we do the practice, but there's loads. One of the most common is restlessness. The mind doesn't settle, it's not settled at all. It's just flaring up one thing after the other. But the restlessness itself is consistent, if you see what I mean. So you have a state of mind that's restless. It doesn't want to just settle. And it's a tricky one, but we learn to notice it and just deal with it. Boredom may be a state of mind. So you start the practice and you come along to something like this and you're enthusiastic. Then you start practicing and all of a sudden you think, oh, this is so boring, I'm just looking at my mind. And what we don't notice is that the mind has produced that state of mind that says you're bored. You didn't choose it. But there's hundreds of states of mind depending on when someone does something and what the brain's responding with. So anger and kindness and love and forgiveness and bitter memories, these are all states of mind that can just linger. So that's the second category. After the empty mind, there's states of mind. And the third thing that pops up, that may have popped up a few times since you started practicing, are the things we normally associate the mind with. Thoughts, opinions, the senses, so what we hear, and if the eyes weren't closed, what we see, things going on in the distance, maybe even at this time of year, something we smell, touch, we might be aware that our back's a bit sore against the chair. These ones tend to be very short-lived. A thought tends to pop up like a fireworks, grab our attention, take us over for a wee while, and then just fizzle out, usually within less than 10 seconds. Same with an emotional reaction to something. You get angry, you get irritated, it reaches a crescendo or a climax, and then it just fades away. So we get used to noticing them as well in the practice. So now there's the three main categories. Sometimes you notice an empty mind. Sometimes you notice one or more states of mind. Sometimes you notice thoughts or sounds or similar opinions or views. And if you do it for a couple of minutes, you might notice all of them at different times. But the key to doing this, or the key point in doing this, is to get better at doing it, because you've just been noticing your mind in real time. And although it's an artificial environment, sitting down quietly with eyes closed, you do get better at doing this in everyday life by practicing like this. So you see things like anxiety popping up in real time in your head, with your eyes open when you're in the living room or in the kitchen or at work. and you see that you didn't choose them, because none of us chose any of the things we've just noticed. The mind just produces them, all by itself, without your awareness usually, and without your consent always. And this is the mind that directs how you feel, and it's the mind that decides what you do. So you really better notice what they're deciding and what they're feeling, so that you can choose whether you go with that or not. So those are the two great insights we've had just from doing this part of the practice. First insight is confirming that the mind does it all by itself, and that that's dangerous. The second thing though is that you now know that you can notice it, because you've just done it. And with practice you get better and better and better at noticing it, and therefore avert some of the crazy and difficult and painful things that the mind produces. So having learned to notice, we now learn to let go. Take your attention to your breathing. Take it specifically to just inside the nostrils. And allow your breathing just to slow down maybe by a quarter. If it feels good enough, you can slow it down by half. If it starts to get woozy, just go back to normal. It's very rare, but occasionally happens. So now you're breathing a bit more slowly, and your attention is just inside the nose. And the sensations start to become very clear. So it feels, I tend to think of it like a chain of beads. So it feels like when you breathe in, clear, 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 clear. And when you breathe out, slower, so more spaced out, peaceful, 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 peaceful. Except it's not separate beads, it's more like a flow, but the beads represent moments. Each bead a moment. So it's like a flow going in, clear, 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 clear. Peaceful, 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 peaceful. You can think of it almost like a river, or a stream, or a burn. Clear flowing down, in the peaceful gurgling. Just follow those sensations of the breath on your own for the next couple of minutes. And if your mind wanders, remember it can only really wander to a couple of different things. If it wanders to a state of mind, or it wanders to a thought, or it wanders to sounds, or it wanders to how your body feels. All of that's okay. If it's your body, feel free to shuffle and change position. But don't get caught up in it. If it's anything else, just notice it and let it fall away by taking your attention back to the breath. And if you have to do that half a dozen times, it doesn't matter. The breath does it automatically, the mind does it automatically, so you can't stop it. But what you can do is stop being caught up in it. So you don't try and push it away. Just take the attention back to the breath and let it fall away by itself. So just on your own now, you observing the clear fresh air going in and the quiet peaceful air going back out, just for a couple of minutes. and to help enhance helpful and good qualities of mind. We can think to ourselves, breathing in, my mind is clear. Breathing out, my mind is peaceful. So you're taking the sensations of the breath, which are clear and peaceful, and you're applying them to the mind. Breathing in, my mind is clear. Breathing out, my mind is peaceful. My mind is clear. My mind is peaceful. Clear. Peaceful. And now, very gently allow the attention to come away from the breath and take it up to your eyelids and notice your eyelids at peace. How peaceful, how light and gentle the eyelids are. And your attention is on them, so you feel the peacefulness, you feel their lightness, you feel their gentleness. And then, giving yourself a minute or two, just allow yourself to find your eyelids very slowly, gradually, gently start to open. And as they do, keep your eyes downward gazed and unfocused, and away from the glare of the screen for as long as you can. Just trust the eyes to return to focus in their own time and in their own way. And as they do, just enjoy the last few moments of peace and quiet in the practice. Okay, that's me out of my practice. Just take your time if you're still going there. But now we'll conclude. Thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care and keep well.